The racing world has a smile on its face this morning because Henry Cecil has become Sir Henry Cecil. And Brough Scott, you know him better than most people. He will be saying this morning that it's a victory for racing and that it won't change him, which I'm sure it won't do. But deep down, how will the man feel today?
Oh, I think he'll feel as he's been feeling all season, that this is a sort of wonderful time that couldn't be believed, because he's done something unique this season, even before he got the knighthood. He's the only man in racing, and probably virtually anything, who's been right to the very top, right back down to the very bottom, and right back up to the very top again. I mean, let's be clear, there has been he got too close to the sun and everything went wrong, professionally and personally. And 6 years ago, 30 horses, 12 winners, Warren Place got 2 other trainers in it. The only place Henry was going was the exit door. And here he is. I was there Wednesday morning. I was there at 5:30. He'd been up since 4 o'clock. He got horses working everywhere, 4 boxes going over the racecourse side, Frankel, Takeover, Twice Over, whole gang of them, and he was absolutely buzzing, And that's what keeps him alive. And of course, this will cap it all, and it acknowledges what an extraordinary thing it's been to do that professionally and personally. His whole demeanour through these problems and his absolute refusal to be beaten up by his cancer, which he's still having chemotherapy for, remember. I mean, he's in no sense out of the woods, but he just says, I want to be positive. And he says very vividly, remember, because I'm doing this book with him, and early on this spring, we were walking out across Warren Hill, and I sort of got round to him, how's your health? He said, well, I don't want to talk about it much, but I just believe being positive's the thing. And thinking of good horses, seeing him on Wednesday morning, with at 6 o'clock, all the horses gathered, all Teddy Grimthorpe there, people getting ready, Quealy and Quinn and Mongan and changing, and Godolphin already going back. This is something that gives the buzz, and of course he's led the field. People associate top-class flat racing with Henry Cecil, and to be able to reassociate it is something really splendid.
And Brough, they've been associating him with top-class flat racing now for decades. You were there and you knew him in the early days, and it's fair to say, isn't it, that in the very early days, the signs weren't overwhelmingly positive.
Well, before he was a trainer, I mean, he was about the least likely person when I first met him to become anything. He was in that last refuge of the useless young gentry, which is a 9-month course at the estate management at Cirencester, where you basically have long hair and get drunk. And he and his brother David, I mean, he can't remember much about it. I mean, I remember he was a friend of mine, and what are we going to do with poor Henry was the cry. And I'm not quite sure what has happened, but he appears to be Sir Henry now.
And when you sum up why he has become Sir Henry, obviously it's because of the success, but why has he had that success? Obviously he's had the horses, but what does he do with the horses that other trainers haven't been able to do?
Well, there's a sort of chicken and egg, but the things he does differently, I mean, I'm doing this book, and one of the things I was talking only on Wednesday afternoon to his long-term head lad, Paddy Rudkin, and when he took over the Boyd Rochford stable, it was a traditional way of doing it, horses in a string. He wanted them to go in just groups. He wanted them to talk to each other. He likes things to have a smile on the face. He virtually never swears. The only time I heard him shout was a guy who hit a horse coming up the canter. It's the only time I heard him sort of went across and shouted something, but he basically doesn't, he tries to make it a happy ship, but of course it's been very difficult. And he's sort of jokey, but he is behind that sort of almost silly exterior, all those in the past. He doesn't wear quite such mad clothes. I used to wear mad clothes. When we first did the Channel 4 telly, he used to wear all sorts of stuff. And all that, ask you the question back and all this sort of stuff. Behind all that, I mean, he does get up in the morning at 5 o'clock. He is around. And when I go out there, there he is sort of padding around, and he sort of talks about what's happening. He goes over and over in his mind. He told me that on Tuesday he spent an hour and a half working out in his head exactly what was going to work with what. Went round and around and around in his head. And again, that's what the guys who work for him say. It's trying to think how horses are. And Shane Featherstone, who rides Frankel every morning and does midday, and I know him well, and he used to ride Motivator, he said the horses recognise him. He said, especially fillies. It's this idea of sort of just try and, if you can actually read them After all, the basic thing of training is dead simple. Famous Philip Hobbs thing of galloping twice up the hill. But it's actually reading, are they ready to do a bit more, a bit less? And he certainly has made himself to be able to read horses.
And Brough, when next year we read your biography of Henry Cecil, if you were summing up Henry Cecil on that dust jacket in a few words, how would you convey to the reader who is Henry Cecil?
Well, he's a one-off because he's the most unlikely of icons. I mean, he's the most poshest man going. I mean, his family, her mother's family home was in 250,000 acres. Craith Castle, and it had the best garden in Scotland. That's where the gardening comes from. His father died before he was born. His stepfather was 40 years older than his mother, 20 years older than his mother, and incredibly stiff, and so it's a difficult deal. His father-in-law was Sir Noel Merlis, two sirs there. He has always been a bit of an enigma. You're never quite sure whether he's serious or not. But he's come through, and again, the other thing that I think has been very noticeable, particularly since his illness, is his sort of generosity of spirit. And I got a letter from a student this week, because I knew he'd been around Warren Place once, and he wrote to me, and his father and he were visiting somewhere, and Henry said, well, do come round. And he took him round, and they took them round for 2 hours, completely, and he does that a lot with people. He's doing a particular charity number. There is a generosity of spirit of him now, and I think having been very close to had a good look at what the abyss looks like, he's loving every minute of it, and he'll really love this.